Welcome back. Today we're talking about my education and what I believe in whenever it comes to education. What I think is the most valuable thing that you can do, especially if you're a creative, if you're a photographer, videographer coming up. And it also is associated to something else that I've been putting out on this channel recently. If you've been following along, I've put out a couple tutorials now. And that is how I think people can learn the most these days. There are different lanes that maybe you want a little bit more formal education with. Maybe it'll introduce you to some people that went the more formal route and ended up getting into movies earlier if that's what you want to do. But at the end of the day, YouTube University is the most powerful tool you can use. Now, when I say YouTube University, you might think I'm talking about some new program that YouTube just came out with, but it's kind of a joke of a term. YouTube University is nothing more than the tutorials that you'll find on YouTube. I have been working in the industry for about 2.5, 3 years now, and one thing that I've realized is that the most talented people that I know haven't had formal education in the media space. There are the exceptions. There are some super talented people that I know that went through school in media and are doing well and are killing it, but those are actually the same people that say you don't need it anymore. The people that went through school before and went through discussing and went through with their programs and stuff, they're the people that didn't necessarily have the internet whenever they were coming up. They're in their late 20s now, but they will tell you that a lot of the things that they use in their everyday life now, they didn't learn in school. They didn't learn these crazy video editing techniques that they're using in their edits now. They didn't learn how to use the different programs in general in college that they're using now. So I think that YouTube University, and by that it's just tutorials, is the most valuable thing that you can do. It's the most valuable form of education you can have whenever you're starting out as a creative. It sounds stupid, but there are a lot of trustworthy people on YouTube that you can learn from. When I was starting out, I didn't necessarily have somebody teaching me every little thing. The advice that I give to people whenever they're starting as a creative is just learn the basics of Premiere or Lightroom or Photoshop. Learn the absolute basics. For that, maybe it makes the most sense and you'll learn the best if you take a course. If you take a little course on Photoshop basics, Premiere basics. I don't think you have to do that. I don't think you have to take a course, but sometimes that's what helps people get that first momentum going. And once you have that momentum, then you can do what you want to do. You learn the very, very basics of Premiere, and I'm actually working on a tutorial right now on just called Adobe Premiere Basics, and it will kind of run you through the little things that you need to know that will allow you to watch a lot of other tutorials and get something out of it. You're not just going to be watching these tutorials and they won't be super confusing because you know these basic things. You know how to make a sequence, you know what an adjustment layer is, how can you use that, why can't I use warp stabilizer whenever I'm speeding up a clip. Little things like that. You just need to know these basics because a lot of the times nobody's going to teach you them and you just learn them as you go. But I was talking to my buddy Pat the other day, and we were talking about how Premiere looks like a different language to a lot of people whenever they see you editing. They might be looking over your shoulder while you're editing and they're like, this makes zero sense. How do you understand this? How did you learn this? But something that worked to our advantage was just that we learned when we were so young. We learned when we had absolutely nothing else to do, and it's all we wanted to do. We didn't have other obligations whenever we were learning how to edit. We just would go shoot something random whenever we went out with our friends or our family, and then we would edit it whenever we got home. We would go on a vacation with our family and make a video about it. Stupid stuff like that goes a long way because it gives you a real-world application on how to use things. You try doing this one technique that you saw from this person that you looked up to, and it doesn't work, and then you have to figure out, oh, how do I troubleshoot this? The first thing that comes to mind whenever I think about this was whenever I was making my high school football videos. If you go back on this channel, actually, you can still see them. And in one of them, I wanted to do selective color. Now, how I did it in that video is not how I would do it now. I do think it actually turned out pretty good. What I wanted to do was only see red in the video. I didn't want to see any other colors. Very stylistic technique. Honestly, doesn't make sense in most cases, but that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to try. That's what I thought would make the video look cool. So I just looked up on YouTube how to isolate colors, how to do selective coloring in Premiere, and I was kind of having a hard time finding a tutorial, but then I found one that helped me, and it was this random effect in Premiere that I don't know if I've used since, and it just worked out really well. Now I would go in, I would use the HSL tabs, I would use the different curves tabs to do that, but that is a perfect example of me shooting something I was not getting paid for. Nobody was making me do it, but I wanted to do it. So me and a couple of my friends would have our cameras at the games, and we would be filming the games, filming the student section. Then I would sit down and have to edit it and make it look cool. None of us are like professional cinematographers, none of us are that good at shooting, but we made it look as good as we could. And that is something that a lot of people starting out have. And if you are going to be successful for a while, you have that even more because you're not going to lose it. You're not going to lose the fact that you genuinely enjoy what you're doing. And whenever you're on YouTube looking up these tutorials, somebody that I would definitely recommend is Justin Odisho. He's somebody that is, very reputable in the space of YouTube tutorials. For me, he was like the first ones I would ever watch. And he did all tutorials, any basic thing that you need, any pretty much complicated thing that you need. He probably has something that can point you in the right direction, which gets me to the next topic. And I push you to not get set on one tutorial, not get set on one person, because how you truly learn things and how you truly find your own voice and your own creativity is by taking one thing from this person, one thing from this person's tutorial, one thing from this video, one effect from this video, and putting them all into one. You're not going to make that cool of a video. You're not going to make a unique video if all you're doing is doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. And it sounds so cliche, but it's the truth. That's the truth of it. You need to kind of put your own spin on it. At first, you're going to try this technique. You're going to do it the exact same way as they did it. That's okay. You learned how to do it. But then you're going to have a client project. They're going to ask for this thing, and you'll be like, oh, wait, I can do that because I've done this technique, and this technique. Now, I feel like if I merge these two, then I could get something close to what you want. That is where the value is. The value is learning the little things along the way of doing these effects in these tutorials so that whenever you need to do something specific that maybe you've never seen done before, then you can do that without a doubt because it's simple. You can do it because you've done something similar before. You don't need to be intimidated by it at all. So it gets tricky and it gets hard to keep watching the tutorials over and over again, but you'll find tutorials that you really like, that you always go back to, and you'll find ones that you always go back to and you're like, oh, what was this technique again? Like I have this Peter McKinnon one. It's the multi-camera tutorial, and he talks about if you have multiple cameras set up, how do you put them in one clip so that you can just toggle back and forth? There's things like that you didn't know you could do before. And you might not use every single day, but you know that tutorial is there for whenever you need it. Maybe you're editing a podcast. Maybe you're editing just an interview where they have multiple cameras set up. Knowing the tutorial that you originally learned it from is going to help you a lot. And YouTube is the most powerful place to find these tutorials. When it comes to finding courses that people have done, when it comes to finding courses that, different influencers have put out and whatnot. Some of them are really good. I've bought 2 of them. I bought the Sam Colder Masterclass, and I also bought the Jacob Riglin Masterclass. They're both Beautiful Destinations guys. And Sam Colder's was very video-oriented, and Jacob Riglin's was very photo-oriented. I did learn things from him, especially the photo one because I hadn't done many photo things up to that point. So I got that one with the intention of learning just more about photo in general. But it's not necessarily worth spending the $500 on it right away if you don't know the true basics. They will cover the basics and they will brand it as, oh, this is a course for everyone, from beginners to pros. And that's probably true, but you can learn the basics in a lot better places and then maybe see what their course has to offer. If it's very specific to what you want to learn, then by all means go do it. The Sam Coulter one's cool. He dives into some different programs, After Effects, Mocha, different things like that, where you can learn how to do transitions, how to do better 3D tracking. That's why I took that one. That's why I bought that one, because I was really interested in that and kind of bridging that gap between VFX and just normal video editing. If you can learn little things like that, then like I said, he'll teach you this thing in a lesson and you'll be like, oh, maybe I could use that technique to accomplish what I am thinking about now. So you can do these different things and you can try to buy these different courses from all these different creators that are putting them out, but I don't think it's necessarily worth it to buy every single one. I might be a hypocrite because I've bought them before, but I'm speaking from experience, and they're good. They're all good, but you don't need them at first. You can learn a lot on YouTube from people like me who are putting out tutorials and people like I said, Justin O'D Show. So many other people putting out little tutorials that'll teach you the little technique that you're trying to do to take your video to the next level. It's not that complicated. You can figure it out on your own once you learn those basics. So when it comes to getting your education, when it comes to getting to the next level in video editing, photo editing, anything creative, I think YouTube University, as people joke, is the best way to go about it. And that's the best way to push yourself to the next level. It doesn't cost anything. All it costs you is your time. And you have to make an effort to go find it. The first video you watch might not be good. The second video might not be good. But the third one you find might be amazing. And it'll teach you something that you might not use today, but you'll use in 6 months. So you have to go back to that tutorial and watch it again. So finding these, knowing that you don't have to pay for it. All you're really investing is your time. And there's value in that. That'll teach you what you really want to do, who you really like to watch, different things without costing you $1. So if you're starting out, I push you just look up YouTube tutorials for different techniques that you want to do. Even if it's looking up Adobe Premiere Basics, there's a million tutorials out there for that. So just try it out. Keep watching tutorials, keep learning. In the industry, it's evolving so much, whether it's different techniques, different social media platforms coming out. You can learn different things from these different platforms and these different creatives that you might not have been able to learn from before. So get out there, keep creating, keep trying to learn, keep pushing your boundaries, and it will help you at the end of the day. So thank you for watching. Peace out, guys. I'll see you in the next episode.